Hi, my name's Jenny and I am an international master mindset and performance psychology coach, and I run a company called Flying Changes Coaching, which is all about equestrian mindset and performance psychology coaching. I also train coaches and trainers as well in understanding equine mindset and how they can help their clients to get the very best and enjoy their riding the most. So with lockdown potentially easing some more over time, we know it's going to, we're just waiting to hear what and when. It means that people are probably more able to go out and ride, go out and train, and eventually get back to competition. So Equilibrium Products have asked me to do a little video for you about how to get motivated and do things carefully so that you don't end up pushing yourself further back than where you started, because this genuinely is something that can happen if we're not careful. So my strapline is dream it, do it, love it. And what that means is have a dream, have a big goal, have something you really want to aim for. It's really great to have that and to inspire you and motivate you on. But then a dream is just a goal without a plan. So you need to be able to get it into a goal and create a plan around it. And that means doing things to get there. And ultimately, you want to be loving it too. So what we need to be thinking about is your dream or your goal, if you want to call it something that's not quite as interesting, the word goal, is it, to dream, but think about ultimately what it's about for you. And then we need to be working that back. Now, there's an awful lot of information in psychology that talks about goals and how you do that, but the way that I like to make it work is to have something really big and juicy that really inspires you that you would love to do. So if we took, for instance, competing in tails, that's a really common goal that a lot of people have. Now, there's an awful lot of work to go into that if you think about where you are right now. So let's say you're competing novice in dressage, or maybe you want to be able to compete in tails in your eventing and you're at maybe 100s now. So the first thing is to be really, really clear about where you are right now. And I don't mean where you were before lockdown began. I mean where you are right now. And think about what has changed for you, what has changed for your horse. So have you been able to ride? If you have you been able to do what you'd normally do? Obviously you haven't been able to compete, so your horses may not be as fit or as capable as they were, or they might be fine. Or you might not be as fit or as capable as you are. I know certainly when I was able to start riding again after 7 weeks of not being able to, I realised actually just how much my riding fitness had depleted despite trying to do everything I could during lockdown to stay fit. Now, once you realise what that gap is, then it can actually be quite demotivating, because it's entirely possible to think, oh no, that gap's really huge, I don't know what I'm going to do about it. But what you need to do is you need to break it down into really small pieces. And a lot of people don't do this bit, and that's why most people's goals fail. There's an awful lot to goals and an awful lot to having the right ones as well. There's no point in just having a SMART goal, if you've even heard of that, because you could have a SMART goal that's not right for you. So there's an awful lot into goals, and we're not going to go into all of that today, but we're just going to talk now about how you break it down into something that's really good for you. And that means, let's say your goal is riding in tails and you're currently a novice. So you know you've got a few levels to go through to get to that. So you need to have a sort of an idea in your head of the time frame. Now, obviously with horses, that's often blown out the window, or it might not be. So, but you need to have a rough idea of it for now. And then the first thing to do is imagine it as if it's happened. So take a moment, close your eyes and think, wow, I'm riding in my tails. Get a real sense of where you might be, what you might be doing. Just get a real picture of it in your head and imagine it is happening, or it has just finished. It's happened. And take a moment to just think, actually, is this really what I want? Because it's really, really powerful when we rehearse things in our mind. We make them reality. So when you've done that, then what you do is you start working backwards from that point. So let's say it's a 5-year goal. You work back a year before that point. You work back another year before that point, and you spend your time thinking, what am I doing now? And by doing this, what we're doing is working backwards from a goal rather than forwards. And working backwards from a goal takes away the barriers that we would normally put in place. So working backwards is really powerful. So once you've done for a 5-year goal, say you've done 3 years of it, so you've gone back a year, back a year, back a year. Then you're going to go back 6 months, then another 6 months. Then you're going to halve it again. You're going to go 3 months, 3 months. So then you're 6 months from where you are now, 4.5 years from that final goal. And then you go back a month, a month, a month for 3 months. Then you're 3 months from where you are now. So then you go back a couple of weeks, a couple of weeks, a couple of weeks. Do you see we're halving it each time? So do that. And then you get to the point where you are just a day, a day, a day, and then you're at the point of what am I going to be doing tomorrow that can get me towards that bigger goal? And because you've worked backwards, you'll know exactly what the thing is that you can do tomorrow to get you to the next bit, the next bit, the next bit, the next bit, and so on. And that's really, really powerful. So that's the first thing I want you to do. Think of your dream, your goal. Think of it as if it's happened. Really imagine it. Just imagine what it's like. Just let whatever it is pop into your head. Let it happen. Then you do the same again for a bit further back, a bit further back. Okay, and each time you imagine it as if it's happened. It's happened. What am I doing? And just let your brain do whatever it does. And it might be that you find that you're not able to ride at the moment, or you're not able to do something at the moment, and so it's not an obvious thing that you're going to be doing. But the cool part is that even if you're not able to ride, there are still things, or able to compete, for instance, there are still things that you can be doing right now that will help with that. So maybe there's some online learning that you can be doing. Maybe you can be having a chat with your trainer. Maybe you can do some skills analysis at the moment to work out where you're at, what you need to do. Maybe you need to be looking at your sheets, your dressage sheets, to get some information about if there's any trends or consistencies that you need to be working on. Maybe you need to look at your show jumping rounds or your cross-country rounds and see if there's any particular type of fence or type of angle or anything in particular that you notice you consistently were doing that could be doing with improving on. And that's a great time to do that with a trainer as well. If you can have a Zoom call with them or a phone call with them or have a chat through with them, or now it's possible they maybe even to come out to you and have a really good chat about this and really reset yourself from where you are now. But the most important thing is it has to be where you are now, not where you were 2 or 3 months ago, because things have changed. And and our confidence does shrink a little bit when we're not doing something. There's such a thing as skills fade, it's called, which means that when you're not doing a skill, that over time it will fade a little. Now, it's not that you don't have that skill anymore, because you probably still do. Those neurons are ready and firing. It's just that because they haven't fired as often as they would have done, there's that question in your brain. So when you ask yourself, can I do this? Your brain can't just instantly say, yep. It goes, that's a good point. I'm not sure if you can actually. Let's test it out. Now, that's not as confident as yes. So that's why you need to take that into account. So your comfort zone will have shrunk a little bit. So you may have to go a few steps back, but it's really important that you do that, because you can only start from where you are now. If you try and start from where you used to be, you run the risk of having too many wobbles and then pushing yourself further back. Okay, so you've got your goal, you've worked out your steps to get there, you know what you're going to be doing tomorrow, you know exactly where you are today and how that fits. And then the other part is to really break it down into the teeny tiniest bits now, because one of the things that we can do right now is perhaps plan a little bit better. Is to perhaps take some time to do things where we haven't got the pressure of competition or so much training perhaps going on, such a busy calendar in that respect. So now think about your habits or your goals from point of view of habits. What are some of the habits, which are things that you just do without thinking about it, that possibly are getting in your way right now? And which ones do you want to change? Which new ones do you want to form? For instance, if you want to be doing more carrot stretching with your horse because actually you've noticed that suppleness is something that keeps coming up in your test, then what you need to do is make that a really simple thing to remember to do. So for instance, if you put a bag of carrots in with your grooming kit or inside your hat or something like that, then either before you ride or if you put it somewhere where you're going to go after you ride, they'll be there to remind you to do the thing. So whenever we're going to be looking into our habits, we always have to link them with something that we already do. We have to have a visual reminder, a cue that says, do the habit. And then that way you will be able to do it without thinking about it. So something like that is really useful. So start thinking about what are the things that you'd like to do. Do you spend long enough warming up? Do you stretch long enough? Do you stretch long enough at the end of the session? Do you take a moment to just ground yourself before you get on? All these things. So if you need to connect the fact that you want to do that thing with something you see or do all the time and put yourself a little reminder somehow to do that. Then the other part about habits is they have to be really, really tiny. And they have to not have any friction, we call it. So something that doesn't get in the way of you doing that habit. So, for instance, if you want to stop eating biscuits, but they're just on the side, readily available, and every time you go to open a cupboard, you open the tin of biscuits, you're going to eat biscuits more often, right? But if you hide them away and you have to think about where they are and you have to go there and you have to maybe take some things out the cupboard to get to them, that makes it a lot more difficult, and it means that you've got more of a conscious effort to do it. So if there's something that you want to do more of, you make it really easy. You take as much friction away as possible. You have it right there in front of you. And if there's something that you want to make harder or you don't want to do, you make it harder to do it. So if we put this into a training context, if you want to be able to do pole work, then you need to be getting those poles ready and out available so you can just be doing them. If every time you go to do it you have to put them out, you're probably less likely to have it there. So you might want to discuss with your yard owner if there's a place that you can have some poles ready set out, so you can just do 5 or 10 minutes in hand, or at the end of a session, or even at the beginning, whatever works for you and your horse, to do your stretches with poles, for instance. Now, all of this stuff is the stuff that very often gets missed when we're looking at training and planning, because it seems like it's just not relevant, it's not fun, it's not exciting, it could be boring, and you've got to do lots of it. And the main reason that a lot of things get missed when we are looking at training, competing, and also mindset as well, is the little things, because we don't get instant gratification from them. We don't get an instant reward. Whereas if we go out competing or something, we generally get an instant reward or instant feedback, even if it's not necessarily a reward as far as placings are concerned. It is instant feedback, and we certainly get the hit of adrenaline and things like that we probably do want if we're doing things like eventing, show jumping, stuff like that. But when it comes to training, you don't get that so much. So we have to be thinking about how can we get some little wins and some things in that makes us feel good. And the way to do that is to know how they add up to the bigger goal and to track them. So to recap, you have come up with your big goal. You've imagined it happening. You've then worked back from that point to today or tomorrow. You know what thing you have to do. You know what little steps you need to do to get there. You've really thought about those, and you know they're going to add up to the bigger goal. You then think about what it is that you need to be doing to make those little steps happen, and you make them super easy to happen by creating the easiest path possible for them to happen. Or if you want to change a goal away from something you don't want to do, you add as much friction to that as possible. You make it difficult. Then you need to track them. And the way to do that is with a habit tracker of some sort. So you either have it in your phone and you delete it off each time you've done it in your calendar or something like that. Or you add it into your calendar when you have done it, or you have a piece of paper with the days of the week on, and you put the habit, and each day you do it, you cross it off. That's a wonderful way. People really like that. There's a reason that children are incentivized and motivated by a gold star on a board, because you can see them adding up. Okay, so we need a visual way of reminding yourself that you either are or aren't doing them. And then the other great way to make sure that we are or aren't doing things is accountability, so consequence. So if you want to be picking up a new habit, because you know that's going to make the difference towards your bigger goal, then you need to find a person that you create a bet with, basically, for want of a better word. You gamble. Well, you don't gamble, because actually if you do it, you know you're going to get the outcome. And that person needs to have both the carrot and the stick. And so the carrot is what you get when you do it. And that could be as simple as a thumbs up or a well done from them, or acknowledgement of it. Or it could be something bigger, that actually once you've completed a whole week's worth, you get something nice. It doesn't have to be food related. It could be that, you know, they'll go out for a ride with you, or they will give you a bit of feedback, or I don't know, whatever it is that works for you. But they've also got to have the stick, which means that if you don't complete the thing that you say you're going to do, and it's probably every day, not ideal, probably a week or a month's worth, something like that, probably a week, 2 weeks really would be the best way of doing it, that something happens. So normally a good one is that you have to pay them some money, or you have to give your money to a charity that you don't like. That will motivate you not to have to do it, or that you don't get something that you want. But that person has to be in control of it, not you, because there's too much wiggle room. You can get out of it if you say, oh yeah, I'm going to do that for myself, because you can kid yourself. And so that's why a lot of habits aren't changed, because you can kid yourself. And that's why a lot of goals aren't reached, because there's not enough consequence, and they're not split down into such tiny little simple things that you can do each day or every other day to make them happen. So if you want to be able to dream it, do it, and love it, then that's what you need to do. You need to firstly work out what the dream is. Then you need to work back to work out what it is you're going to do to make it happen. Then you need to make it really, really small so that you can do that. Then you need to find a way of tracking whether or not you're doing it. And you can let yourself off a little bit, but really you need to be doing it when you say you're going to. And then finally, you need to have a consequence for doing it, or consequence for not doing it, and a gratification, something good for doing it. So hopefully those hints and tips will help you to work out how to ease yourself back, make sure you're working from today and where you are now rather than where you used to be, give you some motivation again to get going, and help link the bigger picture with the little things that you'll be doing every day or whenever you go and see your horse, or even at home if it's something you need to be doing that you can do without being with your horse, unless of course you're lucky enough to have them at home. So thanks very much, guys. Hopefully that's helpful. If you want to ask any questions or find out any more, then just look up Flying Changes Coaching. .co.uk is the website. The Facebook is Flying Changes Coaching, and my Instagram is Flying Changes Coach. Please do ask any questions. You'll see that on my page every Monday morning I do a live on my page, and then also the Dream It, Do It, Love It Lounge is my Facebook group. You can become a part of that if you want to, and then you'll get 3 more lives in the mornings during the week from there as well. Also, lots of live question and answer sessions that I do every week with experts, riders, entrepreneurs, all sorts of inspiring people about the mindset of success. So I hope you found that helpful. Please do ask any questions if you've got any, and I'll see you soon. Bye.